direct questions up here to me. I answered the question. Do you have another question? Do you want to?
Yeah, I was curious as to how the policies that you and your brethren and your Republican brothers and sisters in Raleigh intend to move our state forward when you're cutting Medicaid, denied Medicaid benefits, cutting unemployment, cutting the amount of time people have to stay on it to get $350 a week, denying raises to teachers. Teachers with advanced degrees can't get extra pay.
Let's take them one at a time. You got a lot of questions there.
Political appointees get raises. How does this move us forward?
Okay.
When there was a contrast with Governor Jerry Brown in California, when he's done just the opposite. Instead of cutting taxes, I mean, you get what you pay for. Instead of cutting taxes, he's been raising some taxes. Their deficit is being wiped out. They had to borrow $10 billion from the federal government because they were bankrupt, and that's been repaid. They seem to be moving forward. We seem to be in a race with Iran to see who gets to the 14th century sooner. Can you respond to that, please?
Sure. Well, you obviously know I disagree with you on all those points, but on the Medicaid expansion, nobody's denying anybody the benefits. What we're doing is saying we can't afford the expansion. There's already plenty of debt. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same reason California is having to raise taxes, because for years California has said yes to all these things. California said yes to everything. California's pension system is broken. They're still. They could go broke any day, and all those state employees that have been relying on their pension
They've been cutting taxes
could be out.
for decades.
They could be out. Now, California has the highest taxes in the country. They have the highest tax rate in the country. They have the highest property tax in the country. That's why it's the very reason that nobody can ever leave. You can't move to California and buy a house, but you can't leave California either. I mean, you can't move within California. You have to stay in your home. But California set aside. What we said no to was the expansion of Medicaid, saying that we could not afford it as a state. Fiscally, we could not afford the expansion.
Wasn't that free?
There is no free
The federal
money.
government was going to pay it for 3
Where
years.
does the federal government get its money? Where does it come from?
Comes from us. And if they don't get it, then we get taxed. You guys
still
are
end up-
going to cut taxes. It comes down to the county. County has to increase fees. The towns have to increase fees. One way or another, the
Well,
government gets money from us.
The federal government can walk around promising people all they want to promise them. And this is what the federal government's been doing forever. In fact, America's the biggest challenge that America has is entitlements. It's not all the other things that you hear in the media all the time. Nobody really wants to talk about entitlements. Entitlements are, we don't even know how many hundreds of trillions of dollars entitlements are. Some people say it's somewhere between $100 and $300 trillion of entitlements and unfunded liabilities. Every taxpayer in America, if you pay taxes in America like I do, if you pay taxes in America, if you pay taxes in America, we all owe over $1 million for unfunded liabilities. $1 million. Do you have $1 million to give to unfunded liabilities? Do you? I don't. This is just for unfunded liabilities. This is for the future promises that we've made for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and prescription drug benefits. That's $1 million.
What do we do? Kick people into the curb and just say, you're on your own?
Nobody's been kicked into the curb. Who's been kicked into the curb? Let's address unemployment. Unemployment, we owe $2.5 billion. There was a $2.5 billion debt owed to the federal government on unemployment. There is no doubt that unemployment is a great safety net in America. It really is a great safety net. If you're down and out and you're in trouble in America, and you have the ability to collect unemployment, that is a fantastic safety net in our country. And I'm proud of that safety net. That safety net for a lot of people is turned into a hammer. I traveled around this state for a long time, meeting with business owners that would say, I have really good jobs. I have good jobs available, and I can't find people to take them because they're on unemployment. They say, I will come back when my... I'm just telling you what the business owners tell me. I'm not making this up. I don't make this up. Did you just travel around the state, all 100 counties for...
Governor, I've been around a few more decades than you have.
Well, I'm telling you what
lived in more places.
I've just traveled around the state meeting with all the business owners that have said...
I'm not a rookie.
I'm not a rookie either.
Yes, you are.
No,
in my mind, you
well,
are.
that's fine. I'm telling you what I know.
Okay, let's stop
So,
there. I want to welcome you to
$2.5 billion.
Lewisburg. Thank you for coming to Lewisburg. You're welcome.
$2.5 billion worth of unemployment insurance that the debt that had to be paid back. We got it in line with other states around us. So that's what had to happen with unemployment. Education, cutting teacher salaries. There have been no teacher salaries that have been cut. Teacher salaries have not been cut.
What about teaching assistants?
Teaching assistants were not cut from the state government. 4 years ago, the federal government came in and said, the Obama administration came in and said, we're going to give you this money to hire teachers assistants. That was the promise, to hire teachers assistants. Here's money from the federal government. That money only lasted for 4 years. Back then, I even remember the conversation going on saying, when that money runs out, what's going to happen? This is a really silly thing to do with that money, is to hire people for a temporary period of time, then there's no money to hire them for later. 4 years later, that money was not in the state budget. It never was.
All right, what
That
about
was a
money for
federal
advanced
government.
degrees?
What's that?
Money for advanced degrees.
Well,
Do you
money
think
for
that's going
advanced
to keep
degrees,
teachers
actually-
here or attract teachers here if they
Actually,
can't get money for an
Actually, I
advanced
agree with
degree?
you on that.
Hmm?
I publicly stated many times, I agree with you on the advanced degree
Thank you.
thing. The master's degrees and that sort of thing, I think at the very least right now, we should come back and amend that legislation to say anybody that has started a master's degree should be able to go through that process and finish that process and get their money for doing it. I believe in that. I think that first and foremost, when it comes to education and teachers, we should have the highest paid teachers in the country. I believe that. I think we should have the highest paid teachers in America based on cost of living. I also think we should have the highest performing teachers in the country. And one of the ways you get the highest performing teachers is to get the highest paid teachers. We would have teachers from all over the country, maybe all over the world, coming to North Carolina if we had those options to pick and choose the best teachers. And so I think that's something that we should pursue. It's something I'm going to work on, but actually putting policy in place to make sure that we move down the road to do that. There's been a lot of cheap talk about this for decades. Quite frankly, you can't blame the Republican legislature for 2 years for teacher pay in North Carolina. You just can't do it. I mean, you go look back 140 years if you want to start pointing fingers at people. We got decades worth of not paying attention to teacher pay in North Carolina. So I think we do need to do something about that. We're going to make it a priority. I mean, we're going to put our money where our mouth is in North Carolina and make make teachers a priority. And I think we have to do that. I think we owe our teachers that. It's one of the reasons I've taken on the battle with Common Core, because a big issue with Common Core to me is how this impacts the teachers. There's a lot of pieces and parts about Common Core that impact our teachers here in North Carolina. And so we'll get on some of those questions too. But I hope